Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Sarah or Dactyl, and we're going to continue working on the island of Tithonia. So we're going to begin by working on all the roads, and that's going to be most of what's in this video, is working on the roads. It took me a long time to figure out what exact layout I wanted and what I wanted it to look like. So first we start by clearing out the area, and we're gonna make this parking lot that I was talking about last time. If you didn't catch the first video, check it out, and then you'll be caught up on where we're at. So we'll get started with this parking lot. You know, most places in life have parking lots, like most buildings. So I wanted a place where we can park the utes and some motorcycles. That way when you're driving around the island and you need to get back to town hall or the base tent, you have somewhere to park your vehicle. So the vehicles are 2x3 or so, I think. Not 100% sure, but I know that they fit really well in like a 2 wide space. So we'll create the curb and kind of that outside perimeter so that people driving on the road aren't like right next to a parked vehicle. So I begin with a 2 wide space. I really wanted to use the cone item at the end, but that wouldn't center. So that's why you see me doing like a 3 wide. But eventually I just kind of fix it so that it's 2 wide so that we can get 3 parking spaces, and it all worked out really even for the space I had allotted. So we used that hashed cobblestone path for the outline. You can also use it for the center of your roads, but in this case I wanted to use it as the outline of the parking spaces, and the actual road that you drive on is just the plain cobblestone path. So we'll fill in this area, and that'll be about half of the parking lot, but I figured it was too small, so we end up doing the same exact thing on this other side. It ended up working out perfectly as well because it left us just enough space between the edge of the parking lot and the other river there to create a sidewalk and decorate the area. So you see here that we're creating it exactly the same as the other side, and there's your basic parking lot. I look around a lot just to make sure it's exactly what I wanted it to look like. So we're gonna continue to work on the sidewalk that goes around the parking lot. You always want a safe space to travel and get back into your car after being wherever you went, you know? So let me know what you think about the builds so far that I've done, and let me know down in the comments what you would like to see, your opinions on everything we've built so far, any additional ideas that we can build on this island. So I'd love to hear your opinions. Now, as we continue to expand the roads to lead to this parking lot, I first have to clear out where all these rocks are. I decided to go back to the corner of this river here so that the sidewalk could be 2 wide around the whole parking lot and just be more symmetrical. I have plans for other builds to go in this space as well in the future. So I wanted to take care of that real quick. And now we'll clear out all the rocks in front of Town Hall. just so that we can have a blank canvas to really work on bringing these roads in here, making it easier to travel around town. This is where I actually begin to remove all the dirt for the roads, and it took a really long time. So I am bringing a lot of inspiration from real life into this particular town. And where I live, there's a lot of center dividers pretty much everywhere. And in those center dividers, you have some sort of landscaping, whether it be trees, bushes, rocks, cactus. There's a bunch of different varieties around town, so that's what I'm gonna put between the roads. So you have one road going one direction, and then on the other side of the divider will be the road going the other direction, or at least that's the idea I'm going with. And it took me a while here to figure out how long or how big to make these planters. So you'll see me edit and tweak the design several times throughout this video, and I believe we will end the video before I actually finalize the design, because we ran into a little bit of a problem, which we'll get to in a little while. But I definitely wanted the center of this road to be empty so that you could get a really good view of Town Hall in front of it. And at first, what I was gonna do was have like a intersection almost to have a road there, but I ended up going a different route. So now you'll see me empty or clear out this dirt in the center and place what I thought was going to be like a small little intersection where you could change directions fairly easily. What I end up doing is not quite as easy for the Utes, but I think it turned out really nice in the end. So as you see me walking back and forth quite a bit, I'm trying to decide exactly what I want the look to be, because another thing that towns have are crosswalks. So we have to think about that when designing, is where are crosswalks going to be? Where do they make the most sense? And integrate those into our road layouts. So here I'm starting to clear out the space for the road on the other side of the dividers, and I have to terraform quite a bit in order to get that space. So as I do that, enjoy the music, and I'll be back in a little bit. So now I'm going to raise a little bit more dirt path here so that it matches where the edge of the sidewalk around the parking lot goes. That way you'll see later in the video kind of the idea around that. So I started to take the corners off of all the curbs so that it makes it a little bit easier to make turns in the Utes, since it does take a little bit of extra effort to turn them, especially before you have a lot of practice. So now I finished filling in this road, and we're going to take a break now from this road project to add in a couple of bridges. That way we can get across the way and continue expanding our town to the other side of the river. So I decided to go with a brick pathing here to match the style of bridge I end up selecting. So I go with the brick bridge. I figured, thinking realistically, that buttes are probably pretty heavy and brick is a very sturdy material, so that's why I decided to go with it. I also wanted it to look a little bit different than what I was already using for the sidewalks, being the cement, and it blends well with the cobblestone, I think. So now I'll start to create this little center divide between the bridges, and a little bit later we'll decorate that some more as well. So here I start to add in the sidewalk on the other side and fill in the remaining area of road. And when I go to put the ramps in to make it to where you can go from the road to the bridge, I didn't like the way that it looked right up against the bridge. But we'll get back to that in a minute, because I decided I wanted to mow the grass so that more like tall grass didn't spawn and I could have a nice clean area to continue and figure out some additional decorating options. So now that we're done mowing the grass, we get back to placing the double wide sidewalk here. And I'm trying to figure out where I want the road to go, but I couldn't decide. So then we start working on designing these center islands again. So what I'm trying to do here is work on where we can put some of the crosswalks to safely get across the road here. And I was trying a bunch of different options where I thought they would make sense, and I was really struggling with the placement, because I figured if it went here, it would line up really well with one of the parking lot edges, and I just didn't really like it. So then I figured, okay, well, you know, if you're parked on these end spots, you don't want to walk all the way around the parking lot to get to your car on the other side. So I decided that we needed this crosswalk here from one of the corners to the other, which is fairly common around here. You know, even in like the driveways to businesses, there's generally a crosswalk right there. So I took that inspiration. I really liked the honeycomb path to represent like that bumpy surface that is really annoying when you're pushing like a shopping cart, but it's supposed to be, you know, a safety feature. So I see that around town a lot, and I liked the representation there, and it worked really well for that transition between crosswalk to the sidewalk. So now you saw that I got rid of that center intersection that I placed in front of the town hall, and you know, it just wasn't working out the way that I had hoped. So I'm using this same idea, using that honeycomb path as like that bumpy surface to signal to anyone really that, hey, this is a crosswalk here. And I didn't like the ramp behind that. I liked the steps a lot better. So I kept the ramps on the sides as like a nice and easy ramp down. It's handicap accessible. Well, town hall is not, but the sidewalks are. And we're gonna create a large crosswalk across the center here. My idea is that on the other side, we'll have this really nice wide path that leads you up directly to Town Hall. I recently traveled to Washington, D.C. and got a little bit of the inspiration from the National Mall, where you see the National Monument and how it has that long space between it and the Lincoln Memorial. So kind of the same idea. I won't have like a giant pond in the center of it, but that's kind of the inspiration I was going with. And I was really trying to keep the center divide at like the same height, and it just wasn't working out. So you'll see that I ended up making it all flat and just being one big crosswalk across both sides of the road. That's all set up, I decided that we didn't need ramps. I didn't really want people walking on the center divide here, so I squared off the center divider to be more, I don't know, to keep people from walking across it. They can if they want, but that's not what it's meant to do here. So now we're gonna decorate and start planting some trees. I really love the jacaranda tree item, especially in spring. Purple is my favorite color, and so that's what I chose to go with as the tree to go in the center of these. As you notice, I still haven't decided between the blackwood trees or the lily-pilly trees from the previous video. So I think you'll see them change a little bit later on, but I still have yet to make that decision. So I planted some bush seeds here. I do like the bush items, and place some street lamps. You gotta have light when you're driving, otherwise it could be super dangerous. And I really like the placement of them. I think it worked out. So now I'll do the same thing on this other side. You see me counting how many spaces so that we can mimic the exact same pattern from the right side onto the left. And I was not quite sure about the regular bushes, so I placed some hibiscus bushes instead. And I forgot to mow that side, so I'll plant the jacaranda trees and then place down the hibiscus bushes again so that I can decide between the two styles what I want to keep going forward. So here you see me cutting down the lily-pilly trees because I decided they were just a little too small for the area. I wanted a little bit of cover, so I wasn't quite sold on the blackwood trees either, and decided I would give the gumnut trees a try. So I give that a shot, and you'll see them grow for a little while before I make a decision of which ones to use in the future. So now that the road in front of Town Hall is done, I'll start to round it around this side since it's not going to have a parking lot like the right side does. But I wasn't totally set on a plan, and this is where you'll see that the ramp doesn't quite look nice against the bridge there, so I raised it up one, that way it could mesh with the bridge and then you have the ramp going up just before it. I also believe that that also allows the NPCs to cross the bridge if they so do so, or if they so choose to do so. English is hard sometimes. So that way they can walk across even though it's meant to be driven across. And decorating this little centerpiece was kind of difficult for me. I tried a multitude of different options with plants and planters and just overall layout. I was trying to make the steps work, but I didn't like the way they looked on the side. I also didn't like the way the ramp looked on the side. So I ended up just raising it up a bit. That way it just looked better to me. So on this side you'll see me raise the ground up and right in front of the bridge again, and place the ramps down again so that the NPCs can cross the bridge if they want to, and it just looks a lot better up against the bridge that way. So here, I want to make sure that everything is safe. So on both sides of the bridges, I raise a little platform. That way, one of the youths or motorcycles don't accidentally hop the sidewalk and go into the river. So I think very logically when I'm building, because I like to reference real life, and that's just the style I like to go with. So now we'll continue to work on this side of the road. I finally got a plan as to what I wanted this to look like. It does take me a bit to get the exact layout I wanted, but we'll take the same idea, keeping the 3 wide roads, rounding out the corners, and having that center divide. So enjoy a little bit more music while we clear out the space.
So now that we've cleared out some of the space, I was trying to figure out how to connect the two center dividers that we'll have right here. I don't plan on having a road going perpendicular to the town hall on this side. So I wanted to round the corner and have the road continue to go in the other direction. And eventually we'll start creating a road that goes towards the west. I think it's the west. It might be east. But to this other side. That way, the plan is to get to somewhere nearby the teletower that's on that side of the map. So you can see me go back and forth a lot, and what I end up doing is keeping all this kind of corner piece, or what would be like a corner piece, all cement, and then we decorate on that cement spot. So now that this other side of the road is completely cleared out, I'm trying to lay out where I want this road to start heading that direction, keeping in mind having the center divide and the rounded corners to make it easier for the ute to make the turn, to go each direction. So these are going to be much smaller planters here, and getting the math right was really difficult for me, and I just wasn't sure how I wanted this to work. As you can see, I was starting to go this way, but then it cut off this other direction of the road, and realized, well, that's not gonna work. You gotta be able to use this road. So I go back and fix it a little bit later, but we'll plant the grass and just keep going. I think it's really funny watching this back now that I didn't catch it right away. It took me a bit to realize what was going on here. So yeah, this is when I realized what I had done. So we'll have just this little plus sign at any major intersection, so that no matter which way you're traveling, you can easily make the turn to continue into a different direction. And I really didn't know how to decorate it, so I spent some time going through the item menu in dev commands, looking through all the different options. It's such a small space, and I didn't like it plain, so something had to go there. But for now, we just place the trees and some street lamps to light up the way, to keep that same style from the other side. And we'll fill in all this cobblestone. And you can see I placed the little fountain there. I actually really like it, so I'll continue that trend throughout the island. Anytime we have one of those little intersection points, I'll put the small little fountain there. I think it adds some movement, and I don't know that an actual center divider would have a fountain in the middle of it, but I think it's a cool idea. If you have any other suggestions for what could go there, I'd love to hear your feedback. Leave a comment down below and let me know what you would put there. So here I'm creating where the sidewalk is gonna go, because wherever cars are able to go, you should also have the option to walk, or if you're not able to walk or drive, still have accessibility throughout the island. So that's what we're going to continue to do here. And I'm not sure what I want to build here yet. If you have some suggestions, again, leave a comment down below. But that's the one great thing about Dinkum is you can, the island is so massive that you can come back to an area if you have a better idea for somewhere else. Because I have a lot of ideas, but not enough to fill up the whole map. So once that sidewalk was done, I wanted to come back to this side of the bridge to decorate over here. As I was saying before, it took me a really long time to figure out exactly how to decorate it and make it fit my vision. I tried using the doggo statues, or the diggo statues. They look like dogs, so I call them doggos. So I didn't like the way that looked, and I remembered this bridge I saw in another town, and it had planters around it and flowers, and so I looked up a picture of that bridge, and it gave me some inspiration of, okay, let me place some flower beds that match the bridge. So we went with the brick and try and find the best combination of flowers and greenery to liven the area. I really love the way that this greenery turned out. I think it turned out really nice. So now we're gonna focus on the protective fencing next to the parking lot. As you can see, that's not very safe. I was able to walk right between the lamppost and the fence. So I brought the lamppost forward, the street lamp, and placed the fence behind it. And I had to make sure I did the same thing on the other side, though I don't have it set up for a full sidewalk yet. That'll be the plan for the future. Now remember earlier when I was saying that I wanted this big sidewalk path? Well, this is me starting to create that. And in the next video, we'll continue building this area. So Leave a like down below if you enjoyed the video today, and leave a comment for any feedback, suggestions for future videos, and we'll continue next time. Oh yeah, I forgot I needed to fix this so it matched. So, thanks for watching. Hope to see you next time. Bye!